Greetings everybody, Duckville, bringing you some Wings of Liberty StarCraft 2 action. Of course, as I mentioned in one of the previous casts, this is going to be one of the few remaining Wings of Liberty casts that I'm going to be doing. Going to be focusing mostly on Heart of the Swarm. Of course, this is taken from the recently released Team Liquid Replay Pack of the Week, number 54, if I'm not mistaken. It is, of course, our player who has unfortunately retired from the team, has retired from StarCraft in general. I'm talking, of course, of the one and only LiquidSt. He's going to be starting at the top right-hand side as our red Terran here on Cloud Kingdom. His opponent is going to be a blue Protoss, and you know, maybe you guys will sort of guess what LiquidSt is going to do from this point, given that he is against the Protoss. It is going to be BytruSt. The By clan is a big sort of name in Korea, but I don't know of this guy in particular, but either way, we'll see how he goes. What I am happy about is that it's not a barcode name. My god, I'm getting so bored of all those barcode names. It's kind of getting sort of annoying to deal with that kind of stuff, but I don't know, whatever. We'll roll with it. We'll see how C is going to go on this, this very interesting map. Of course, if you've been following where C went with his career, very short but illustrious career with Team Liquid, of course, you would know that he loves to do a bit of mech against Protoss and did it very well in IPL 5 against Naniwa. There were some really, really cool games. If you haven't seen those matches, either go catch the VODs on the IPL site or jump on the replay pack and have a quick look yourself. It is something to behold when C does his mech, because it's a little different to a lot of the way well, to the way that the very, very small amount of Terrans that try and mech against Protoss do it. He just adjusts things slightly and relies on really, really nicely well-positioned things. But we won't get into that yet, because you never know, he may actually just stick to a standard bias style. But Trust has now got down his standard sort of gateway-based opening, only one gas for the moment. There will be well, I guess there will be no second gas for the moment. Just a very standard way to try and open up in this particular matchup is to go for that one gate expand. As we can see, C has actually walled off the ramp there, so he's not going to be able to let his opponent find out that he did have the expansion going. So it's sort of just a thing which has just come up a little bit lately in quite a lot of the high-level games, is that a Terran will wall off and then say, you know what, I could have gas, I might not. You know, there could be a proxy Banshee or something like that. There may not. There could be an expansion. Who knows? But it just sort of adds a little bit of an element to the matchup. Whereas before, like, well, I won't say before as in it was a long time ago when people did this, but the little bit more of a standard way to do it was to just go straight to the command center after the racks had finished up, and your opponent can see that and they can say, all right, well, I'm definitely facing up against a command center after racks. So just to, you know, adding in that little bit of doubt. If you can make your opponent doubt something, if you can make them hesitate, as everyone always says, you should never hesitate. But if you can make your opponent do that, then you'll be sitting in a very nice position. So, Trust has now gotten his Nexus up, of course, got that started. He is a little bit supply blocked at the moment, which is a bit unfortunate for him. He has gotten a Stalker and a Zealot out on the map, controlling the Zelnaga Watchtower just to the left side. His Stalker's going to have a quick peek down here at the third, just trying to keep an eye on, you know, if anything fancy is going on from C. As we mentioned, you know, there could be anything going on, because he doesn't actually know. All he saw was the racks and the supply depots at the front, and, you know, that's not enough to confirm exactly what's going on. But what he does find is an SCV heading in to try and get a secondary scout off on his Protoss opponent, and takes that down and will proceed to get an extra gate or two, so he will be up to a total of 3. And of course, with the chrono boosted warp gate research going on here, it looks like he'll probably just make sure he's adequately prepared. There you go, my mouth wasn't working for a moment there, I needed a mechanic. But yeah, he's just going to make sure he's adequately prepared for that kind of, just in case anything fancy comes along. There is a Robo as well, just perhaps, again, a little bit of hesitation on the fact that he doesn't know exactly what his opponent is up to. So I do like the safe play there from Trust. It's good to always better be safe than sorry, as they say. So it's, you know, a nice little standard way to play here. But he is going to populate that Nexus now. Of course, we can see the probes heading down. Of course, this does mean that Trust is going to start to get his worker count a little bit higher, taking his third and fourth gas extremely quickly down here, just to try and make sure he can supplement his income of gas. Meanwhile, for C, as we can adequately find here, he's got a starport coming up, and it probably is going to switch across to that tech lab. So I'm assuming we're going to see some Banshees out here from C. May even grab Cloak. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of Banshees as an opening for mech, so I think we may actually see him go for a bio style here. Unfortunately for C, he's actually rallied his command center in the main onto one of the SCVs, so two of these guys here are just giving this one little SCV a hug, and you know, that's perhaps not the best way to be mining out that main base, but oh well. He's going to try and counteract that by finding a Stalker in the middle of the map. Maybe he could take it down. Of course, the Stalker does not win the battle against 4 Hellions, but then again, the Hellions do go down. I think 2 Hellions will go down against 1 Stalker when it's 4-on-1. But as we can see, he's going to try and poke in, has a quick look, says, you know what, there's too many units here. I'm going to head back. It does actually lose two of the Hellions there, so not the greatest sort of trade there for C, but he did make his opponent utilize a couple of those force fields, which is better than nothing. So C is now going to try and get back in a nice economic position because of those hugging SCVs by taking a ninja expansion down the bottom right hand side. Trust's going to have a quick scout through with his observer. Going to have a look and see that there is a Banshee on the way. In fact, where is that first Banshee? Did we actually did that already get down or get shot down? So, oh, sorry, it's over here. There you go. My bad. So the Banshee now heading down, probably going to look to get a little bit of harassment done inside the main base. It's not common, as I said, it's not common to see Banshee openings when you're going for Hellion straight off the bat as well. So he is going to head inside eventually and try and get some damage done. At the moment, there isn't really too much defense in there, so he should be okay to get a couple of probe kills out. I doubt he's going to destroy an entire mineral line or anything like that, but you know, he may be able to get a little bit done. Meanwhile, back at home for C, he's gotten a couple of extra racks on the way, so we are going to have extra factories, I should say, are about to finish up. So we are going to have a total of 3, 2 of them with the tech lab on, and 1 with the reactor. Looks like the Banshee was adequately deflected by Trust for the time being. The Observer came down and was able to help out with the Stalkers, just in case that cloak had finished up. But as we can see, there was no cloak. Now this is one of the starting sort of things I mentioned earlier. C just changes things just a little bit in the way he plays mech. Of course, a lot of people know that he does quite a lot of tanks, and we may even see that out of him. But this is one thing he throws out is a very quick Raven along with a Viking. Now you can of course use this to shoot down these observers. It's a fantastic way to clear out your base instead of putting up multiple turrets around the place like some Terran players will throw down, you know, a turret here, and another one back up at the top side of the mineral line. This is just a nice, cheaper way to try and deal with that. Of course, it does add the utility of the point defense drone, which gives you the ability to sort of block out some of those shots from Stalkers if he was to come up against the Stalker attack. But it's just a little bit of a change here from C. Now, he is going to have that nice extra third base here already done. He's got a 4th command center also on the way, and is going to get started on that tank production. As we can see, the 2 factories pumping out those tanks at a time. Siege mode is done, so he's all prepared with that. Continuing to produce a lot of Hellions as well, just because they're really nice to have for dealing with large amounts of Zealots. You can, of course, use those to help out with possible drops that may come along as well. Like a lot of Protoss players will try and utilize the fact that a meching Terran is a very immobile Terran. So that's a good way to try and sort of counteract a mech style, is to say, you know what, you've now got a Warp Prism in your base, there's an Immortal there and a bunch of Zealots, what are you going to do? You can send those Hellions back, and with Blue Flame, they should be able to handle the Zealots very, very easily. But as we can see, he is starting to tech up towards the Colossus tech, and then this is something I'm not a huge fan of in PvT mech, is a Colossus. What are Colossus outranged by? Siege tanks. What is a meching Terran going to have a lot of? Siege tanks. What a, you know, and another very simple way to deal with the Colossus is, of course, to have just a couple of Vikings out. You don't even have to have a large amount, just because there's going to be that extra damage done by the siege tanks. But yeah, I'm just not a huge fan of seeing Colossus in a counter to mech as a Protoss player. But as we can see, he's going to have those out. Good for defense right at this sort of point of the game, so that is going to help him out a bit. Meanwhile, Trust is now about to take his 3rd base. Of course, he thinks he's in a beautiful position right now. He can see that C has not actually secured that 3rd base just as of yet, so he's thinking, all right, I'm in a pretty cool position. He does still not know about the 3rd down the bottom right-hand side, so that may come back to bite Trust very soon. It's just that sort of, you know, it's an understandable, but it's a lack of scouting. So we'll see how that affects him very soon. Turret going up, siege tanks prepared just in case there is an attack that comes along. Sensor tower also going to go down there for C to make sure he is protected and can see exactly what is going on. Meanwhile, for TvP, just continuing to try and tech up here. We got Colossus on the way, we got 4 Colossus done. Robo is producing Immortals now, very good to see, and he's also getting those upgrades done. This is one thing which I think, if you ever come up against a meching Terran player, perhaps if it's me, what you want to do is you want to try and take advantage, as I said, of the immobility of a mech style. What you can do is invest in getting your upgrades a lot quicker, start getting those Immortals out as well, because they really help in dealing with large amounts of tanks. And what you can also do is expand a little bit quicker. I kind of feel like TvP's third base was a little bit slow here. Now, the reason that he got that a little bit slower, I'm assuming, is because he only knew that C had taken a, quotation marks, third base at this very late stage. So to him, this is a little bit safer way to play, is to say, all right, you don't have your third, I'm going to get mine a little bit later as well. But but even so, I think against a meching player, you kind of want to take that third base a little bit quicker. But as you can see, the Hellions just poking around the map, just trying to find any weak spots in the Protoss defensive net that he has going around the map. As you can see, very nice to find that TvP is getting a nice little wall off here. Got to make sure you protect it against those Hellion run-bys. They can do all sorts of amazing damage if they get inside with their blue flame. Of course, they do, how much is it? 21 damage against light units. So basically, mineral lines will disappear if you let those Hellions inside. And as we can see here, Liquid C is about to get prepared for a push. I think he hasn't actually scanned that the 4th base is going up from TvP yet, but he may just be looking for that timing here. He is maxed out. He's got 1-1 on his upgrades. 2-2 is on the way and is not going to finish in time for this push, but it is going to, if he takes his time, which of course a mech player wants to do, you want to be very slow and methodical about these pushes, is, the 2-2 could finish by the time he does get there. So I really like the addition of a couple of Banshees in here as well, just to sort of say, you know what, if there's going to be a lot of Stalkers, we're going to do some damage against those and really knock them down. Of course, the Raven here to help out with the point defense drone and the detection as well. DT is a common way for a lot of Protoss players to try and deal with mech, is to send in those DTs to multiple points on the map. So good to have that Raven out, as we mentioned right at the start. Good to see that very quickly, as just a small tweak to the way that C is playing his mech. Meanwhile, he's keeping an eye on where this Protoss force is. Notice that it's actually heading up towards the top left-hand side, and he's going to send a couple of these units down to the 4th base. The one cannon there probably not going to be enough to defend this against the impending wall of mech units that's coming along, so they're going to deal with that 4th base very easily here. However, C has a small problem at his 3rd base. That goes down quick smart. In fact, the command center will survive. I assume that's going to stay alive for the moment, and C has had to mech up here. Got all sieged and ready to go. He's probably not going to wipe out the rest of this army, but in fact it looks like TvP is just going to try and go through there anyway. Does bust through the first line of tanks, but lots and lots of tanks are following quite behind, and he is not going to be able to get too far in that. However, C has been able to take down the 4th base. There is a Void Ray doing its best to try and charge up, but the Vikings dealing with that quite easily, and the tanks now going to wipe out some of these Zealots as well. Wow, interesting to see that Zealot's primary target is going to be a Viking, not a tank. A little bit confused about that, but the tanks look like they will be wiped out in the end. Of course, the Zealots taking care of quite a lot of those, and then the Stalkers blinking up on top. In fact, the Stalkers actually took a few hits there while they were trying to deal with that, but TvP did lose quite a few of his forces here. He's down to 142 supply. He's currently got a total of 4 Colossus still out in this big mixture here. We got 2 Void Rays out on the map, a couple of Templar, of course, now switching into what I am assuming is going to be, have we still got Immortals coming out? No, we don't at the moment, but a way that a lot of people try and counter mech is to go for Immortal Archon, and try and deal with it that way. Of course, very high-powered, strong units that can take a lot of hits. And we'll see how Liquid C is going to try and deal with that. Of course, he's a player who, like I mentioned the various changes that C makes to the way he plays mech, he is a player that doesn't get ghosts. And to me, as a person who, I've been had a little bit of training with one of the local C mech residents, OG's Ruined, he's always said, you know, when you see that double robo going, when you see a lot of Immortals and these kinds of things, you need to get some ghosts out for EMP. But C just doesn't tend to do that. But he will get a nice little run by here. The worker kill count relatively even this entire game between these two guys, so it's not as if C has gone out to a crazy worker lead at any point. He is currently sitting on a total of 48 SCVs. He's had to start rebuilding some of those that were lost at the third base, along with those that were lost at the fourth. We did see that get finally spotted there by Trust, but he is doing a few run-bys and is trying to keep up. What he wants to do is keep this harassment going. You want to say to the Protoss, look, you're not safe in any position. You've got to have some defenses spread across the map, and you know, if you do, that means he's not going to push. So Trust is going to try and buck the trend here. He's got a lot of Void Rays, 4 Void Rays out. We've still got 2 Immortals and 4 Archons in this mixture of a bit of a death ball here from Trust. So he's going to try and maneuver around the map, maybe get into a good position to try and attack in. But hello, tanks. That is signature Liquid Sea right here. 30 tanks are out on the map. Some of them down here at the natural, but that is a whole bunch of tanks. Look at all that stuff there, guys. That is an insane amount, and this is what I'm talking about with the differences in the way he plays mech. He says, you know what, we're not going to get ghosts. I'm not going to bother about that. I'm going to use these 60 damage dealing to armored tanks just to blast away at everything before I even need to EMP these Archons, before I even need to EMP the Immortals. I'm just going to blast them all away, and that's how he's been playing his mech style since he sort of started showing it in his play for Team Liquid. So he's now going to start to move out. The Colossus a little bit out of position there with that choke point, sort of bunching up all of those units. Not too good. C meching up almost every single tank there. We still have a total of 30 tanks. 3-3 is just about to finish for them. So they are going to be doing a ridiculous amount of damage once they get into position here. So we'll see how Trust is going to try and deal with this. He just doesn't really have the perfect composition to deal with us. I'd like to see some more Void Rays here. I mean, you know, C has gone for a sort of a medium count of Vikings, but that's mainly to do with those Colossus. But here we go, the battle is on. It looks like C is going to suffer some losses with those tanks, but look at that line of tanks. It's just a conga line of tanks heading back towards the Zelnaga Watchtower. Every single unit of Trust has been almost annihilated there. A couple of Colossus going to try and survive here. The Vikings chasing after them, and it looks like that last remaining Viking will also go down. The Thor is also in pursuit as well. Down he goes. So that is the end of that Colossus. Looks like C is going to move forward and try and take advantage of the fact that he's wiped out his opponent's army, and it is now down to 112 supply. So now he does move forward. He's going to try and siege up on this 4th base here. C does not actually know about the hidden base up the top left-hand side. So these guys trading ninja bases at the moment. It's a very interesting sort of situation between them. But C has got his 4th base here at the this sort of inner base, and he's got a planetary here. Should be able to defend for the most part against these Zealots, and with the reinforcement Hellions now coming along, I think he should be okay. But wow, look at that damage coming out of Trust here. 303 on his upgrades, and he does clean up the planetary fortress. So nicely done by him. C is going to need to re-establish that command center very soon to make sure his economy is still in a good state. But he has actually gotten another hidden planetary down to this side. So Trust may be aware of this one, or he's going to have a guess that that one is there. But as we can see, C is just continuing to plunder his way across the map. All these tanks still available to him, 22 in total. Back at home for him, he's got a heap of factories available to use. Some DTs did get inside the 3rd base here, but C on the ball. That turret there helping out with the detection. A tank and a couple of reinforcement Hellions now coming along to save the day. And it looks like C has found out that there is that hidden base across to the top left. So he's going to deal with that quite easily. +1 in his air weapons, just about to finish up as well. Still producing 6 Hellions at a time. I'm a little bit surprised about that. It's kind of the point of the game where you may just want to start getting out the higher tech units like the Thors, perhaps even look to transition into battle cruisers. But no, he's going to stick with tanks, he's going to stick with Hellions as well, and is still just controlling all of his units very well. And that's one thing which I think, if you want to take away anything from the way that C plays, is that his positioning is generally right on the ball. His Hellions are always moving around. They're active units, of course, much like a Phoenix, much like Mutalisk. You want to keep them active on the map. You don't want to have them sitting around doing absolutely nothing. And as I say that, they sort of sit here. But there we go. There they are. They're going on the move. And now, as we can see, for Trust, he's got a lot of Zealots out now. He's still got quite a few Archons as well. The total is looking like 6. He's got 3 Immortals, but still, at the moment, he's just suffering because his production has fallen so far behind because his mining has just fallen apart. C is now looking to perhaps go for the killing blow, but no, not just yet. He may have detected that his opponent is marching his way across the map. The Stalkers at the front, Zealots far behind. And now, C is going to have to evacuate that turret for the moment, so he's not going to be able to mine at that base for the time being. Worker count is still at a very odd spot. 36 SCVs for C is quite common for this sort of stage of the game for a meching Terran player, but Trust sitting at 41 probes. I'm a little bit surprised about that. Of course, he's had to deal with multiple bases going down at a time. Of course, the 4th here has never really been established, and it looks like he is going to try and have a little bit of a battle here. C has got so many Hellions. There are, wow, 32 Hellions, and he's just going to march through here. Tanks at the front now sieging up, going to start laying waste to all of these Archons that are here, and there they go, just blasting all of them down. Some of the Immortals not surviving, and they will, in fact, clean up most of those Protoss units here, and Trust is in a world of pain. We've got 21 tanks, a Thor, a couple of Vikings, and 18 Hellions out on the map for C right now. So that killing blow I mentioned before is probably going to come very soon. I mean, there is not really too much that Trust can do. We've seen no real Stargate sort of switch from him. He did get out a couple of Void Rays, but I mean, there was no real sort of commitment to those at all. We've seen no carriers as perhaps a little option for him. And of course, no mothership, but you know, these kinds of things, I mean, when you're dealing with a meching Terran player, you have to try some options, and I mean, sticking on a very basic sort of gateway Immortal Force is perhaps not the best way to try and utilize the advantage that Protoss has, but as we can see, a little bit of a ring around the rosy here. C just playing cat and mouse with his opponent, just following him around, killing off some of those units, and then he's going to head back home to make sure that all of his bases are secure. And Trust just trying to take advantage of that. These 303 Zealots with charge, of course, going to try and get inside this base. Not going to do too much, though. These 3-3 Hellions here to defend will force them back, rolling up those Zealots, and it looks like that may be we're at the sort of that stage where Trust just really doesn't have the capability to deal with this large force of units that C has out. 3-3 Hellions are taking on Immortals and Stalkers. That's the position of this game we're at right now, guys. It's just incredible to see this kind of stuff. Stalkers blinking back. The tanks now just started stepping their way forward. They're in their pong-pong mode. C does not actually care at all. He's just going to 1A this little section of this battle. And the Hellions at the front providing a nice little buffer for the Immortals, not doing any damage to the tanks, and now C is going to be able to push forward. The bottom right-hand base has been secured, but Trust knows that the game is over in GG. So Liquid C taking a mech versus Protoss game here. It's going to be a shame to see that C has now departed from the StarCraft 2 scene. I would love to see more players doing this kind of stuff. It is definitely possible. For you Terran players sitting out there saying, nah, it's too hard to do. It's hard, but it is not impossible. You need to play perfect. You need to be right on the ball with everything that you're doing, but it is definitely possible. Anyway, hope you guys had a lot of fun watching that one, and I will see you all next time. Cheers.